Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So my next interview was a whole lot of fun. It was direct from Las Vegas at the Casino Harrah's, right on the Strip, with a comedian magician by the name of Matt King. Check this out. Quote, hailed by many as the premier comedy magician in the world today, Matt King was just named Magician of the Year by the Magic Castle in Hollywood, just broke a Guinness World Record, just appeared on his 7th TV special for NBC-TV, just rocked on The Late Show with David Letterman, and has been regarded as one of the top 5 shows in all of Las Vegas for the past 10 years, close quote. I bet you that's even a little old. And he went on to tell us at the show that he has been signed on, I think, for another 4 years, 16 years at Harrah's. Just gives you an idea of the kind of show that Mac does. We talked a lot about his show, but we talked about some really interesting things as well, and he's a great act, a lot of fun. If you're in Vegas, make sure you get out to see the show. Not only is it a cheap ticket, but it's a great, great fun show. We talked about how he developed his comedy chop. We talked about mentorship. We talked about inspiration. We talked about this whole idea of listening and generosity on stage as a performer. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff here for not only magicians, but for public speakers and for people that are into the art of practice, frankly. So I think you're going to really enjoy this. Mac's a great guy. Check out his website, MacKingShow.com. Don't forget to check DavidPeckLive.com for more interviews, and stay tuned. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We're joined by a very special guest today, Matt King. A
very special.
Yes, and he's covered in guinea pig hair.
Right now, I am covered in guinea pig hair.
We are going to talk about that. We're at Harrah's.
That's not showing up, though, right?
Yeah, well, and what I can't believe is that I'm sitting in your dressing room at Harrah's in Vegas.
Right?
And actually, I call this face to face, but it's very rare that I'm actually face to face.
Oh, really? So it's
usually phoners.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you again. So let's get right into it, because I know you got another show in about 27 and a half minutes. I believe.
Something like that. Yeah, coming right up.
And we're gonna leave you about 2.5 minutes of prep time. So
okay,
I think
thank you.
We should be good.
All right.
So let's go right in. Are you a magician or a comedian?
Yep.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final. That's I get that question probably the most.
Okay,
and
good.
I don't have a real answer for that. I mean, I started out being a magician.
Yep.
But
well, and being a magician, I can really see the thinking in the show.
Well, I mean, it does matter to me.
But
That part really matters.
Yeah.
But also the funny part really matters to me too.
Well, I guess the reason I asked the question, Mac, is I'm interested in what you want me to walk away from in the theater.
Oh, well, I mean, what I'm looking for you to walk away from, I think, is neither of those. I mean, I want you to remember me. I don't care whether it's magic or comedy that makes you care about the show. I'm hoping that you care about me and know that I care about you.
So I think there's, as a audience member, you had me right away. You had me at kind of good afternoon, and I think you got you've had this really interesting and keen ability to develop trust right out of the gate.
Oh, that's nice of you to say.
Well, I'm fascinated by that, because I don't think a lot of performers have that, and you get away
especially with a magician too. I think that even that.
Well, your hackles are kind of up, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to catch this, or I hate magicians, or I got drug here because my wife likes magicians and I don't, and I'm going to figure out every one of these tricks. And I think part of it is I'm wearing a goofy suit, and part of it is I say howdy, which is.
Well,
sort of
you are
friendly.
From Kentucky. So
I am from Kentucky, and the introduction says that too. Please welcome direct from Kentucky.
Right.
So I think people let down their guard a little bit because of all of those things. I don't look like a magician. I don't come out like with big bombastic music, and there's not a big dancing girl opening, and it's just me walking out with a little suitcase, and I got floppy suit and floppy hair, and I'm I'm making eye contact too.
You're making eye contact too, and there's a simplicity, I think.
Yeah, I think that's
to
right.
The
That's
way
that's
you sort
right.
of hit the stage. Curtains on. You have this beautiful theater, gorgeous curtains. You're waiting for this big show to begin, and you walk out with scissors and a rope.
Yeah, and then there's just
and you're in. So it's really
well. But I think also you say trust. But I think also there are people, many people. From talking to people afterwards, and partly how I've how the show's evolved over the years. One of the things is too doing that rope trick. It's not, some of that trust goes away at the beginning of that. I think, because I think people go, oh, this is going to be lame.
Right. I saw that at my kid's birthday party last year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
A rope trick. Oh, gee. So and that trick, is kind of for me. It's most of the tricks in the show are almost like it's like. Microcosm of each trick is almost a microcosm of the show itself. It starts out pretty. Oh, this is not what I thought. I was hoping this would be good, and it gets progressively. You go, oh, wait a minute, that kind of. Wait a minute, that's even better. Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's very layered.
So that's the idea.
Well, hence what is it? Is it about 367 callbacks? Is that
maybe if you counted them? Now I'm going to trust you on that number. Yeah,
I actually notched them in the table.
Did you?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
I've got my Swiss Army knife with me. Yeah, yeah. I think the house manager's going to be pretty pissed off. Yeah, so no, but I love the trust factor, and I loved your answer, and it's not that obviously I care if you're more of a magician or a comedian, and it's rarely an either or. I was so hoping you would say, I want people to remember me. I remember Lance, watching Lance, and I've got manipulator's blood in me.
Oh yeah.
And, I did a coin act for many years.
Oh dear.
And I know it's troubling, but the thing about Lance for me was when I saw him on Carson. Was that yes, brilliant magician.
It's the greatest magician of all time. I think.
I think you're onto something, and so, but it was him, and I remember a director coming to see me who said, "No, you want people to remember you. You don't want people walking off stage going, oh, wasn't it interesting how he floated that ball?"
Well, I think there's some of that too. I mean, I want them to remember that too. I mean, I've had people show up at the show wearing cloaks of invisibility. I've had people
funny.
that kind of stuff. So people do remember that,
Yeah,
and I
of course
think
they do.
I think. Partly the reason that they remember me is because the tricks are, they may seem like slightly familiar if you're at all familiar with magic. There's a rope trick and a card trick and a trick with somebody's money, and so those are all sort of standard things, but they diverge from that a lot. And so I think that it's not just that I'm an engaging person, it's also that the tricks are, I really want to fool the shit out of you.
Right.
But I also want you to be doubled over with laughter, and I want to be an engaging person. So it's not just one of those things for me, it's all of them. And
well, there's something too, Mac, I think that's really, for me anyway, one of the things I took away was the effortlessness.
Well, there's that too.
The
Yeah,
show. Just the way everything blends, the stage setting, all the callbacks.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the way you handle a pack of cards.
Right. Well, that's.
I saw your bracelets right out of the gate, by the way. I wonder if he's just doing that too. And then, of course, they come into the show, and there's this. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. There's so. Over the years, the show. I haven't created. I feel like my show is a really good argument for evolution over creationism. I didn't really create the show. It evolved over time, and without an intelligent creator. I'm a good listener, and I'm a
nice.
And so
and when you say you're a good listener, do you mean you're a good listener to your audience or to your critics or your directors or your confidants?
I don't really have. The audience. I've never hired a director or anything, so it's the audience and me and my friends. I have smart friends too that I'm, smart enough to listen to. But I'm also. Sometimes people give you what I feel like is bad advice too.
Yeah,
so I'm a good listener, but I don't act on everything. I only act on what seems right to me.
As a performer, as an entertainer and a creator and so on, and a writer, what's the filter for that? At what point do you say it's no longer about my ego? Do you is it discernment? Do you check in your community, your close community?
About what's good for the
like
show?
When you get criticism from somebody, you know what, I don't know about that bit, or is there like this inner circle of?
Well, there are people, I've had people say, that's a little harsh. I mean, I have a couple little lines in the show, like, smell it.
Right.
And got to take that out. Oh, it's fine. And so, I mean, I'm the, it's
of course
got my name up there.
Yeah,
I'm the ultimate arbitrator.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really do. I mean, like I said, I have smart friends, and so, I know enough to listen to them, but also, I mean, it's me up there, so I have to decide.
You have to ultimately make the decision. Yeah. Can you take us back to when, I don't know, and maybe this is a crazy question, but for me it was in film, it was kind of Raiders and Star Wars and Blade Runner. In Magic, what was it for you that kind of pulled you in, that said, holy smokes, someday I'd like to be sitting in a dressing room covered in guinea pig hair?
That has been my ultimate goal since I was about 14. I don't have a specific moment that really, I mean, one of the things I still have a vivid memory of, or at least I think I do, is my grandfather, my dad's dad, Peck, picking me up and sitting me on his kitchen counter, and this is how long ago it was. I mean, taking a match from his big box that sat by the stove, because you had to light the stove light the gas burners with these matches. So big kitchen match, and his pocket handkerchief with his K on it, and wrapping up that match and putting it in my hands and having me break that matchstick, hearing it, feeling it.
Okay, so I'm getting shivers while you're.
Yeah, I mean,
seriously, I am.
Well, and I mean, and when I unfolded that handkerchief and that match was whole, I mean, I got shivers too, but I got, but that shiver, I mean, turned to something else when he showed me how to do it. And it was like a whole, and I was like probably 6 or so years old. And that was like, I mean, I remember the counter, and I remember the match had a blue head, at least in my brain. Who knows how false or real the memory is,
sure.
but I mean,
but clearly still resonates.
It still resonates, and it's just, and so that from then on, there was a break in the middle for
and do you
when
think
I discovered
then,
girls. But
you did not become a magician to get girls, did you? I would have steered you. I would have steered you differently. If that was
to
the
guitar.
Case. Yeah, guitar. Maybe drums. Music anyway.
Yeah.
Not a pack of cards. Yeah, bad idea.
Bad idea. Although, I did meet my wife.
Good
with
for
a card
you.
trick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Home and card?
Yeah, actually.
What's it
her
really?
card in my pants.
Oh, that's pretty
yeah.
funny. Well, so I did want to talk about your family a little bit. Where does your wife come into this? My wife, Elizabeth, she loves what I do with magic when I perform, if I get on stage, which I don't do too often anymore. But she's not a huge fan of magic.
My wife likes good magic. She's really funny, and so she's one of the chief people.
She's the inner circle, right?
She's one of the chief people I listen to, and she's smart and funny, and she likes magic, and she likes magicians for the most part. I mean, but she's spoiled. I mean, I have a lot of really cool magician buddies, so she's met the cream of the crop, and so she's pretty discerning too.
What about mentors for you, Mac? I mean, one of the things I've loved about magic is the discipline, the practice. I've had a couple of mentors along the way. I'm certainly not a comedian in a classicals. I think I can be funny, but I love the work behind the work.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people throughout my. I mean, Lance was, we were close friends, but also, I would say he was an early mentor. I mean, I'm 3 or 4 months older than him, but he's kind of better than anybody else. And watching how hard he worked on his act and the time he put in, and also kind of his approach to the tricks. I mean, there aren't many comedy magicians who have as many body loads as I do. I mean,
it's awesome.
You know, so
the shoe
I mean, it's
stuff is brilliant.
yeah, all that stuff is, you know, I mean, it's a weird combination. I mean, it's a stand-up, you know, almost like it's some manipulation, you know, you know, and I think that's because of him. I mean, his influence, and then other people. I mean, Max Maven has probably contributed the second most to my show. I mean, he's smart and funny, and you know, really, you know, this would be a good idea for you, you know, just a general trick or whatever, or turn a phrase or whatever. And he's, you know, I mean, I owe a lot to him.
Have you always been funny? Were you the
Yeah,
class,
I mean, I think I come
clown?
from a funny family, and so I mean, when I was a little kid, I mean, the only magicians, I mean, I didn't know any magicians other than my grandpa, who, you know, and he knew a couple of tricks, and my mom's dad knew a couple of tricks too, but they weren't, you know, real performers. And so the only magicians I'd ever see were on TV, and you know, those guys, you know, you want to be suave and sophisticated, and that's not me. And so, but when you're a kid, you want to do what you see. And so I was, you know, I tried a silk act, you know, where to music, and then the dancing cane, and, you know, a dove act at one point, and all those things. But, you know, the closer I got to being me, the better the show was, I feel. And it's, and I think that's true of almost anybody.
So did you just make a comment about it really doesn't matter what you do on stage, in a sense? Is that sort of what you just said, in a way? I mean, you said the closer I got to being me, almost the better.
Well,
I became.
but that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of work to get to. I think. I mean, to shed all those other, you know, things in your brain and let yourself be yourself, and that's hard for everybody. And because you always, you know, it's like I said, you want to be somebody, you know, what you admire, and so I think that's a good start for everybody.
It's such an irony, isn't it? So here you are trying to be yourself on stage, and yet you're trying to deceive your audience. I love it.
Well, that's right. And I said today, I mean, you know, that's not a normal line in the show, but she said, "You're cheating."
Which was so great.
I'm cheating the whole show. Yes, that's how magic works.
I actually wrote it down. I thought it was a line.
So, but I mean, I am cheating the whole show.
You are
so
cheating
I mean,
the whole
so
show.
yeah. So I mean, it's not exactly me. If it was exactly me, I mean, to get to know the real Matt King takes months and years, and you know, I mean, I'm only got a certain amount of time there, so I'm exaggerating certain things, and you know, but I'm trying to present the essence of me and how I want to be remembered, and you know, I mean.
And is that, Mac? Is that the difference? Do you think? And I think you've already said it, but just to bring it out for my listeners a little bit more, is that what makes a great performer? That trust. That
I think so.
authenticity
Yeah,
on
well,
stage?
and I mean, it's both ways, from the audience to the performer, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think that pretty quickly, or at least partway through, I had a friend, Dick Kinney, who used to say, you know, that it was he could watch people, and it was a physical thing. He said, you know, they would settle. Ass settling, I believe is how he put it. And it was, you know, you could see that, you know, initially people they're not sure, that, you know, but once they settle their asses, you know, you got them. They've fallen into my trap almost.
Right.
But it's also a trust too. And it's, I mean, it's, you know, there's so many things going on. It's up and down, that trust, but I'm also, you know, like you said, I'm false too.
Right.
I mean, you know, I mean, I'm presenting an exaggerated. I'm not presenting exactly myself. I'm presenting what I want you to see, and I'm not presenting. You know, you don't see all the secret stuff in the tricks either, and you don't see all the thinking behind the jokes. And so that was another thing. Go back to mentors. My act was kind of developed in comedy clubs around the world, around the country, and so when I started, I was like a middle act in these clubs. It's typically a 3-person show,
Right.
opening, middle, and a headliner act. And I started as the middle act in those clubs. And so, I mean, the education of that, being able to sit in the back of the room and watch these headline comics and how they structure their shows and how much time they put on working on the jokes, and they record every show and then they listen to it the next day and make little changes, just a phrase or a word, or eliminate one, or change the cadence or whatever. And so I wanted to be a headliner in those clubs, and I saw, and club owners and managers told me, he said, you have to have it's not, we don't care if your magic is fantastic. We care how many laughs you get, because it doesn't say, the improv magic club.
Right.
It's the improv comedy club. And so you got to be getting as many laughs as a comedian, as often as a comedian, and as loud as a comedian. And so I think that's one of the things that sets me apart from a lot.
Got to be a pretty tough place to develop your magic.
It's fantastic.
As well.
I guess hard, but it was. I loved it so much. Yeah, it was great.
So can we got like 5 minutes left at the most. Can we talk a little bit about what I would say is a really generous guy on stage? Like I sense the generosity about your performance. And listen, you must have a big ego on a certain level. Maybe it's small e, not capital E. Does that make? Is that
it's
fair?
all caps, man.
It's all caps. Man. No, seriously, Mac, like honestly, and I think that's from the moment, the howdy, the Kentucky, the rope thing, the simplicity, for me anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'm going a little too layered on this.
I think it's a delicate balance, though. I think because I feel like for me to be able to do that, I have to have some sort of confidence,
of course,
to be able to do that. And so I think that shows. And what you were talking about, the way you handle the props. I mean, I'm almost juggling too. I'm throwing carrots around and paper bags and balls and box, whatever. All the things. I mean, I'm catching them without looking. There's all these things that establish trust in me, that I know what I'm doing, and you're safe in this ride. But the generosity thing, to go back to that, years ago somebody said, everybody should have like a 1-sentence description in their own head about what they want their show to be about.
Okay. Yeah.
And
just
so
like the
I've only said this to a couple of people. So, but for me, that sentence is, nice guys don't always finish last. And so that trust and that generosity that you somehow are picking up or whatever, I mean, I think that's part of that.
I bet the goldfish don't feel that way, though.
They don't. The goldfish, the guinea pigs.
You bastard. That's what's going through their minds. Yeah.
If they could articulate that. But then but my understanding is goldfish memory is pretty short. So
I'd like to see the empirical data on that.
Yeah. I don't know how they test that.
Listen, I'm going to say that it's, as a magician, it's one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen. Never seen anybody. I hope that's enough for listeners to get on a plane to come and see your show in Vegas.
Should be enough, yeah. We'll just see how much weight your word carries.
Well, my 14 listeners, I think.
Okay, all right,
so
good.
Our percentages are not great right now. So anyway, Mac, thank you so much. We're here at Harrah's Casino in Vegas, the Mac King Show, with Mac King, actually.
I am Mac King.
The one and only Mac King. Thanks for your time today, Real.
Thanks for having me on.